Hello traders, welcome back to this week Forex forecast with one man. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on post notification. This week we are looking at the pound crosses. We are looking at GBPAUD, GBP CAD, GBPJPY, GBPNZD, GBPUSD, all the pound crosses, right? So if you are new to the channel, over here what we do is just very simple. We look at just two concepts, which is quote report. Quote report is basically what the orders in which the institutions are placing, the people that are putting in, big lots, the orders in which they are carrying, and then we couple that with our pure price action, and when those two are in line, we take trades in those directions, because what the big boys are doing or what the banks are doing is what we also want to do. That's what we also want to do. So quickly we look at quote report, then we come back to the technical. Now, quote report, since we are looking at the pound crosses, or we are looking at the GBP pairs, then all we have to do is to check the numbers or to check the figures that they've reported. So we could see here quickly, the British pound has a 29,000 net positions, which means that they are about 29k net positives in the market. Net positives means that the pound is strong, or there is more buying of the pound in the market. But when we look at the net change, this is negative 4,000. Negative 4,000. So simply explain it, the net change column simply gives what strength or the temperament of what the institutions are doing. Or let me put it clear. When you look at the net change column, it shows the immediate moves that is being carried out in the market. But when we look at the net position shows the long-term positions being carried out in the market. And since we are short-term traders, we are going to be more focused on the net change than the net position. So looking at the pound, we know that in long term, the pound is strong. But currently, this net change shows that there is temporal weakness on the pound. So it does not mean that the pound is totally weak, but it shows that temporarily. So daily, maybe days, hours, we could get that pound weakness, which shows that the pound can be selling. So if we want to trade a pair like GBPAUD, then we just have to come to the AUD column. Now, in the AUD column, we could see that the net position here is negative 74,000, which means that comparing the pound to the Australian dollar is long-term wise very weak. So which means that when you go to the chart, you should be seeing the GBPAUD in an uptrend. But when we look at the net change, it is negative 6,000. So what this thing means, comparing the net change to this, simply means that temporarily, maybe days, days or week, temporarily, the pound is sort of gaining little strength more than the pound. Sorry, the AUD is getting little strength more than the pound. So when we go on the chart, we should be seeing temporal selling in the GBP AUD. But if we want to trade long-term wise, then we are going to be looking at only buying opportunities. So when we go to technical GBP AUD, we could see here very clear that we are having a bullish move from 2022. Why? Because long-term wise, the pound is stronger than the AUD. So following this thing, we can just stick to what only looking for buying opportunities. After all, the trend is your friend, so we can stick to what looking for buying opportunities. Now on the weekly, looking at the technicals, on the weekly, we could see that what the pound bought has been buying, and then now the pound is at a very critical level where sellers, or where we had a massive sell in the past. Looking at price action, you say price action is what historical price movement. So in the past, there was what a massive sell from this zone, and we could see that immediately price moved all the way to this zone. We had what this breakout, and for about so many weeks now, the pair has been what consolidating beneath the same what area, which shows that what there is what a lot of people trying to sell GBPAUD. And from our quote report, we could see that temporarily the pound is weak because it has what negative 4,000 compared to the Australian dollar, which is just what 600. So meaning that what temporarily, comparing the pound and then the AUD is a little bit stronger than what the pound. That is the only reason why we are not seeing continuation all the way to the upside yet. But in general, the AUD is not that strong from what we have over here because it is negative, which means that in long term, this thing will eventually go up. That is what it simply means. So if you want to trade temporarily, we know that the pound is not that strong. So we can try and see if we can get some few pips from sales and all those things. But if we don't want to stress ourselves, then all that we just have to do is to stick to what looking for the long-term buys. So on a weekly, price has been consolidating just around this move. But when we take it back to the daily, then all we could see is this beautiful trend line that has been pushing the price up, high, low. We went to create what higher high. We are coming from what our higher low. But what can we see on the leg of this higher low? We are in what? In a range. We are in a range, and currently price is also what at the bottom of the range, which is also coincident, which is also on the third touch of this beautiful trend line. And then we expect that what there should be buying pressure coming in the market from here. But since quote report is saying that the pound is temporarily weak, then we have to be a little bit careful buying from here, because it means that looking at this data, it means that what we can still continue to see more sales in GBPAUD for some few days or some few weeks before we buy. And since we are looking at this week, price is at a very key level, 1, 2, the third touch, we could have a buy to the upside. So having a buy to the upside, all we need to do is to go to the 4-hour, which is our entry confirmation, to see. Now, how do we read the 4-hour price action? You could see on the 4-hour, we had high, low, high. We broke this level, created a low. We pushed back, and we are what? On this leg. So this leg could go and create what? Another low, and from here we can what? Look for what? The 4-hour structure. Following the 4-hour structure, higher high, high, low, high, low, high, break of this level low, and then we can buy from here. Another way in which we can buy is since we already have a trend line, price can what? Just come play around here without going further lower and then we back because the trend line is a daily trend line. So what do I mean? Price can create a double bottom on this trend line and then we see buying pressure coming in the market. For those who trade supply and demand, we could see that what our structure, looking at structural wise, we can say that what there is a break of structure just right here, and we know after a break of structure, price can easily come to what there's what a break of structure just right here. There's BOS break of structure. There's a break of structure, and then this is the level that causes the break of structure. So what it means is that if price drops to this level and I see a bullish confirmation on the 4 hour, a bullish confirmation on the 4 hour, like something like this, I could easily take my buy on that bullish confirmation, putting my stop loss below this impulsive candle, and then we expect price to go all the way back to the top of this range, giving us a simple 1:2.5. So if we see a buying pressure from this level of this leg, then we might buy all the way back. But price, if price does not give us any confirmation in this range, then all that we will expect is that following what this structure, then we should have a low. So we have high, low, high, low, high. Then we are waiting to buy on a low. So for GBPAUD this week, all that we are still looking for is to what? To buy. Either we buy if we get a confirmation from here, or if we don't get a confirmation from there, then we wait for price to come down to this level 2.03 level. Then we can also what? Buy back into getting 1:3. So in all GBPAUD, we are not going to look for any sells. We are just going to look for buying opportunities around two zones. Either we get the confirmation from this trend line to buy, or we have a break and then we buy from this zone all the way up. So that is all on GBPAUD this week. Very simple, clean, and direct price action. So looking at Forex Factory, what we're having, if you have any high impact news on the pound. I don't know. I want to check if there's any high impact news. This is starting from July. So all the way to this. So we are in July 20th. Today's 20th. So we're supposed to have Monday from 21st. 21st. Monday, July 20. So yeah, so you could see that the whole of this week we don't really have any high impact news. Here on Tuesday, we have BOE government barely speaking, which is just a speak. It's not really any high figure. So we don't have any pound or AUD active news. On Thursday, we have the AUD also having their governor also speaking, which we also won't have any significant move on the market. All until let's say yes, so on Thursday we are having what? The pound, that is the manufacturing PMI, and then flat. So this will be the only time that we may have any aggressive move on the pound pace. So this tells me that the whole of this week we might roughly just be playing around this zone, until Thursday. Then we get that massive news pushing the price all the way up, or we'll just continue selling, and before Thursday we get a massive reversal back into this move. So in GBPAUD we are looking for only buy. Let's quickly take a look at GBPNZD. Now, one thing about GBPNZD is it moves in the same way as GBPAUD. So whatever we are technically doing on GBPAUD, we have a similar property on GBPNZD. So we could see that over here, what we could see is price moved into a very key level of supply or sell zone, and we dropped on the weekly. And what can we see for for a couple of weeks? All that we've been doing on the GBPNZD is ranging. So on a weekly, we are ranging, and then we are on a very beautiful trend line. So looking at the data, going back to the data, we could see that on the NZD, long term wise, it is also bullish. Why? Because the pound is 29 and then the New Zealand is 3K. So long term wise is bullish. But looking at the net change, there is a little bit strength in the New Zealand than the pound. That is why we are seeing just consolidation, because now the pound is no longer, the pound is strong but temporarily is weak, and the NZD is temporarily strong but long term wise is weak. So that is why we are just seeing range momentum just here on the weekly. So what can we do? We can just expect this price to drop a little bit to closer to the trend line, and we look for buying opportunity. So on the daily, let's see what we can do. So that is it. On the daily, all we can see is that this week there's a higher probability because we've just been ranging, over here. So there's a higher probability that we have few sales down to this zone, and then we buy back. So GBPAUD, I'm waiting for price to drop a little bit, maybe till Thursday. So Monday we can have consolidation. Tuesday, Wednesday, then from Thursday, price can just fly all the way back to the upside. So GBPNZD, I am waiting for trend line, beautiful trend line that has been holding. I'm waiting for price to get to 2.200. Then we look for buying opportunities from this level going on the 4 hour. So we could see on the 4 hour that we have this temporal 4 hour candle, which temporal 4 hour trend line, which I'm expecting that it will break and go down, and from here we can look forward clean buying opportunities. Now, I am not going to sell, because if I want to sell, then my risk to reward is not going to be favorable. So someone will be like, okay, if you know that price is going to fall all the way down here, why don't we sell it? Temporarily, yes, we can look for selling opportunities, but when we want to do something like that, then we might not get a favorable risk to reward, because if I am to place any short opportunities, the only place that I can have a safe stop loss without being wicked out or easily stopped will be all the way above this range, which when I want to target this level, then that is just going to be 1:1, and 1:1 risk to reward is not something I will want to take. you know I will want to take. So I would rather wait for you know the sellers to push the price down for me to look for buying opportunity, and this is going to give me 1:4. So I can look for buying opportunities from here all the way up. So GBP NZD, we are waiting for sellers to push price down. Why how do I know that sellers can push price down? Because on the quote report, looking at the quote report, the pound is temporarily temporarily weak, and the New Zealand is also weak. But looking at the numbers, the New Zealand is somehow stronger than the pound temporarily, but overall the pound is strong. So that gives me the conviction that we are going to we are going to see more selling pressure before um, the PMI coming on Thursday, before PMI coming on the flash manufacturing PMI coming on Thursday, for us to sort of see buying opportunities once again. The same thing looking at GBPCAD, the same concept. On the weekly, price action wise, we are just moving in a very beautiful channel, and we went all the way to the high of this channel, and we are dropping. And structural wise, looking at looking at it, we know that price is eventually just going to drop to the low of this trend line and continue going up. Why? Because when I look at this, I could still see that long term wise, the pound is stronger than the Canadian dollar. So long term wise, we are still looking for buying opportunities. But for short term wise, the card is gaining a little bit momentum over the Australian dollar. So the same explanation, the same concept over and over again. We are expecting a bit push down to this low, then we buy. Taking it to the daily, things are so clean, easy to understand. On the daily, we came to the high over here, we dropped, pushed back, dropped, and then it looks clean. That's we can continue to around 1.81 zone before we look for that buying opportunity. So I am not going to sell. I know very well that price is going to drop, but if I picked a sell, where is my stop loss going to be? My stop loss is supposed to be above the high, which I am not going to really get a clean risk to reward, you know. So because if I want to take it, this is just going to be 1:2. It is still good, but I want something 1:2, 1:2.5, 1:3. So I am going to wait for price to drop to my zone, which will also conform to long-term long-term buyers, which is the buying. And if I see any buying momentum or any buying confirmation from this zone, then I can buy all the way to the upside. So GBP card, I'm also waiting. This is going to give me 1:5. So if I see structure wise high, low, high, low, high, low, then we can look for more buying opportunities to the upside. So that is technically what we have on GBP card. Let's quickly move to GBP Swiss francs. So on GBP Swiss francs, the same concept, we are expecting a buying opportunities on the GBP Swiss franc. But when we look at GBP Swiss francs, this pair has been bearish. It has been selling, selling, selling. So trying to take a buy is very risky. When we go to the commitment of traders, when we look at the institution, what are they doing on the Swiss francs? We could see that long-term wise, the Swiss francs is also weak, and the pound is strong. But for short-term net change, the pound is weak, and then the Swiss francs is strong. So over here, what it means is that we are in a very key weekly level of buying. So we can definitely see buying pressure coming in any moment from here. But we need to be careful, because for manipulation's sake, price can just blast through and quickly reverse, like what happens over here, where we had price at this level and we had this massive stop loss hands before price moved up. So here we can repeat the same thing, massive break before price goes up. So let's be careful over here. Following structure, we could see that what we've been dropping, So this is a good buy area, but we have to wait to see a structural change. Maybe one more drop because this is high, low, high. You can come for a low, and then maybe from here we'll look forward another high. And if we break this trend line, then we can continue pushing all the way to 1.9 or 1.1 area. So GBP Swiss francs also buying chance from around 1.06, 1.07, 1.06 to 1.07, 1.06. We can still look for buying opportunities from this range all the way up. I am not going to sell. Why? Because we are already at a very strong level of support. Even though temporarily we can see sell, so that temporal selling could just be, this one. Then the pound from Thursday, when the PMI news comes, pound is going to go high. So that is what we have on GBP Swiss francs. Let's quickly look at GBP JPY. So same concept. You could see that what now over here we could still see over here long term wise JPY is very strong. So you could see the difference. Over here, JPY is very strong. So we should be seeing sales, but temporarily the JPY is what? Extremely weak. That is why we have negative 12K against what? Negative 4,000. So it means that for temporal movement, we are still going to be seeing buys. That is the reason why, although the JPY is strong, but we are still seeing what? Buying, because we have what? A negative number for the JPY against what? The pound. So the pound is way stronger than JPY temporarily. So yeah, clean and very simple. No, you know, no confusion. All we could see is that, or all we could say is that, well, we are just going to look for price close above this level, and then we push all the way to somewhere around 27, 210. So GBPJPY will continue to buy all the way. So we are only looking for buying opportunities. Look, going to the daily, all that we could see is, so far as this daily trend line is concerned, price can continue to push all the way up. So on the daily, we have a very beautiful trend line that is pushing price all the way up. So when we go to the 4 hour, then using this trend line, we can just expect a bit of, maybe some few cells back to the trend line, maybe 97 area, then we buy. But if we don't get a buy from this 97 area, then all we can do is to look forward a break, a retest, then more buy. So GBP JPY, I am